Hello, please can someone confirm that they can hear me? Sorry, I didn't get you. Please can someone confirm that they can hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you, sir.
Okay, I don't know if I'm very audible, but to class, please, I would like to touch my internship program for the fintech industry. My name is Dennis Williams, and I will be helping moderate this particular session. Just to just to just to follow up, right? We would like to encourage everyone to reach out to communities to join in for the session as we are about starting, and we don't want an instance where we don't have there are people in class. So please, can you kindly, I would like to kindly encourage us to reach out to our other communities to get them on board in class. You can drop the link to class and put a call through your subgroups so that, like I said, people can be aware that class has started. All right, so in today's class, we'll be discussing commercial developments of fintech. Please give. All right. Yeah, so like I was saying that in today's class, we'll be discussing commercial developments of fintech, right? And I would just like to quickly introduce our mentors in class. Okay, just to give a quick review of what we'll be doing in today's session. In today's session, we will start off by introducing our mentors by reading their profile. For the new mentors we'll be having, or the new mentor will be having in class, we'll be reading their profile, and then
Sorry about that. My network got disconnected on my second device. So like I was saying, we'll take presentations from the mentees after the mentor is done speaking. And then after the mentor is done speaking, like I said, after the mentor is done speaking, we'll take presentations from the mentees, the both groups that are available, right? So please, group members, please do well to notify your presenters to come on board so that we'll be able to take their presentation. And lastly, what we'll be doing is that we will be taking feedbacks and then questions and answers. Okay.
all right, if you can see, sorry, I'm having some issues with my screen, so I'll just go ahead and read our mentor's profile. Let me quickly. We are expecting to have two mentors on the call, and I can see both of them are already here. Firstly, Mr. George Onyewichi, and then Mr. Romeo Bra Brahima, right? So Mr. George Onyewichi currently heads fintech engagement for First Bank and subsidiaries across Africa and is digital innovation lab, setting up and driving the bank's fintech strategy. George is a link that connects technology, business, and ecosystem. Partnership is at the intersection of products, partnership, and ecosystem building. He has led the tech solution product development for the SME banking business of a leading commercial bank and has taken numerous financial and digital and non-financial products from idea to market and growth. He has led digital transformation in the client engagement processes for leading commercial banks, including one of Nigeria's banking industry's first end-to-end account opening for corporate accounts and SME digital lending. His team has won numerous awards for powering growth of SMEs. He also provides advisory for Crypto Africa towards developing blockchain infrastructure and building the operating system for African businesses on the blockchain and hosting knowledge sessions on blockchain applications to various industries within the African context. Thank you so much, Mr. George, for joining us. Our next mentor is Mr. Romeo Rima. I don't know if I'm getting the pronunciation very well. Please, when we give you the opportunity to speak, sir, I would really, really like to get the correct pronunciation. So Mr. Romeo is a legal and compliance professional with experience advising those local and international companies operating in highly regulated super sports bets and King Lotto, navigating licensing, commercial protection, ALM/C30, and regulatory engagements across its Nigerian and South African markets. He currently works with the BC.Game brand, where he provides legal counsel and regulatory support across the EMEA region. He his work spanned regulatory engagement, licensing, ALM/C30 compliance, consumer protection, data protection, and enforcement risk management. Romeo regularly advises local and international companies on market entry, regulatory structuring, payment partnership, and management of relationship with financial institutions and regulators. With a practical, business-oriented approach, he is experienced in negotiating and drafting complex commercial agreements, designing compliance framework, and responding to regulatory inquiries and audits. He is particularly skilled at translating regulatory requirements into workable operational control, enabling business to scale responsibly without unnecessary friction. Romeo is known for his ability to balance legal rigors with commercial reality, serving as a trust advisor to management teams, boards, and compliance stakeholders. His work consistently focuses on reducing regulatory risks, strengthening governance, and ensuring sustainable growth in regulated environments. Thank you so much, sir, for joining. We are happy to have you with us. Yes, so our mentors, I thank you to our mentors for coming on board to talk about this very important aspect of fintech, that is commercial development of fintech, open banking, embedded finance, and the world of payments. So people, you can stop sharing your screen. Thank you so much. Right now, we want to give the floor to Mr. Romeo. Right, so we would want to hear from you in the next 20 to 25 minutes. Um, just share your discourse on what. Hello, Mr. Romeo, can you hear us?
Yes, I can hear you. Hi, Victor. I don't know if it's the reception from my end, but at some point I stopped hearing you at certain intervals. So, but can everyone confirm that they can hear me? So I'm sure that I'll be able to accentuate my points in a way that everyone will understand.
Yes,
I
sure, we
think
can hear you.
Okay. Thank you. Sorry, please, can you go back again? Because I told you it was breaking off. I couldn't particularly hear all you had to say concerning what you wanted me to do next. So please, can you go over that again so that I'm able to understand you?
Okay,
all right,
sir.
sir.
So, okay, Dennis, are you back?
Yes, I'm back. My network is a little bit turbulent, but I'm back now. So I was saying that we'll be taking your discourse, sir, I think for the next 20 to 25 minutes.
Okay. So no problem. I think I already shared my slide. So please, are you going to share it on your end, or do I need to share from my end so that we can carry on?
Uh, so right now, please, I would like to ask if it's possible to share it from your end, since my network isn't so
Oh,
stable.
okay. So let me share. Um, Coming. Just give me a minute. Let me. Okay. Please confirm that you can see my screen.
Yes, it's sharing. It's not
Okay.
everything, but
Is he okay
okay.
now?
Yes, it's up now.
Okay, yes. So thank you everyone for joining. When I received this particular topic or area to talk about, for me it was a challenging task because the world of fintech is very, very wild and wide. It's wild and wide because there are a lot of things going on there. And I don't even think that in one session you can accurately capture everything because there are so many spectrums in the fintech space that in one slide I cannot accentuate everything, but I tried as much as possible to stick to these areas that would, I think, be beneficial since it's a mentorship session, just to give us an overview, background, and a direction on how the sector is going. So I just put a few things down, not much, but I believe I'll be able to support it with some explanation and so that the listeners can understand. So going on, so the objectives of this particular session, from my point, is so we understand how this fintech sector has moved. What are the major commercial drivers of this of innovation within the sector? Understanding open banking and embedded finance. Then also, since it's a mentorship session, I thought at the end of it all, I think it's also important for the person's participants to find the pathway within the sector if they so wish after the session, and they've developed interest that, okay, how do I participate or how do I find a space for myself within this particular space. So because I did not know who the target audience were, it was a broad approach to the mentorship part or a career pathway. So I looked more from a broader perspective rather than from legal perspective. So basically, how the fintech comes from finance and technology. So before we are able to get to the technological aspect, finance comes first. So how's the financial model work operated within Nigeria and the world at large? So of course, we know finance is started from trade and barter, exchange of goods and services, cowries, other forms of IOUs, paper currencies, other forms of currencies. But within the Nigeria sector, if you look at the fintech space, how it all started, it started when where after development within the financial space, people started bringing in ATMs. Those were the first form of technology that were introduced into Nigeria in terms of a technological advancement point where people were looking at alternative means of financing in the past because of the insecurity, robberies, theft, forgeries. A lot of people used to carry lots of money. I'm pretty sure some of us who had mothers, who had shops, and who were market women early on, you used to notice that those days when they were going to the market, the night before, they will pack up their monies. For those who didn't have bank accounts, they will pack up their monies, they will arrange them in bags, and they will prepare it for the next day. Now, these opportunities spurred people to thinking, okay, what do we do? This is very risky. People lost their lives, people died. So banks or institutions were looking at it. What can we do to help these things? That was when people brought up ATM. Before they used to have travelers there, I will use slips and all that. But still, those things they could get robbed. They were even using to use postal orders. I'm not sure a lot of persons here know what postal orders are. But postal orders, then you take a particular amount of money to the post office, you buy it. Then you take the postal order to another post office within that particular region that you are going to, and you could cash it or redeem it for cash. So those were systems people were coming up with. So people looked at it, institutions looked at it, they invested in a technology system whereby why don't we create something different that cannot be easily hacked, that cannot be easily, manipulated? That's where ATMs were born. ATMs now allowed individuals, instead of carrying travelers, they could take their card with a secure number, go to any ATM point in any of the jurisdiction they were going to, and they could, slot in their cards and redeem money. But even with that, people still were still able to steal these ATMs. In the past, before the restrictions on the number of pins or tribes you could have on the ATM cards, people were still able to try multiple times, and eventually then they now eventually get in. So banks too and other financial institutions began to think of ways to build security measures around these things. Then that also created another problem. Now, what if somebody at one try who gets that particular amount and easily just changes now spurred people on to designing something called a wallet system. Now, what is a wallet system? Wallet system, basically, all of you have OPay, most of you here, or some of you here have OPay accounts. Now, people were now looking at it, why don't we move away from a place where we have to deal with cash, particularly? Then they then looked at, alternative options. That's where things like your wallet systems began to come into play. So now, instead of you even having to rely on a card or a pin, you could travel somewhere new, go to your marketplace, and easily from your phone send money to another individual. And that completely removed a lot of risks. Now, if you notice now, you found out that the amount of robberies, all those things has reduced. Now, somebody can steal your phone. They are not even able to access your financial information because of the security system developed around these things. Although those security systems did not get there in one day. So sorry, I will try as much as possible to be concise because like I said, this area is very wide. I cannot completely cover everything in one session. So, but I'll just give you the major highlights, which is what I'm trying to do. There are some subsets within all this that help spur on this development, but I'll just stick to the major highlights so we were able to move on quickly. So yes, So a lot of people now design the wallet system. Now, this wallet system, yes, now assisted persons to be able to make transactions in a more secure way. Although that also came with its own risks. If you had an easy PIN, which is why you see a lot of banks, they spend so much time in sensitizing their customers. I'm sure at one point in time, those of you use some of the major banks, you've received calls from your customer service team telling you not to share your date of birth, not to share your BVN, not to share sensitive information that could allow anybody access your account. So though the security system improved, the risk dropped, but this risk will always be there as long as there's technology and somebody can have access to it. So now, some of the things that led to this development of the technologies in the financial space was the advent of mobile phones. Now, you see, the wallet system is basically tied to your mobile phone. So, or your electronic devices. So if you have a mobile phone anywhere now, you can have access to your financial information, you can have access to your money. So the development of this technology is reliant on a lot of other technological development outside the walls of outside the fintech sector. So these things have now continuously helped. And another thing too is internet penetration. And why is this very, very important? I'm pretty sure some of you have been to some places or some villages where you go there and you notice that there's no network. So it therefore means that at that point in time when you're in that place, you will not be able to access your financial information over the internet. Now, these technologies did not start and grow in Nigeria. They were already prevalent in places like the United States and some parts of Europe. Now, as we began to adopt some of all this technology in our day-to-day activities, the financial system followed suit, and they also began to build layers upon this technology to assist individuals, businesses, corporations to be able to have easy access to finance. And aside that too, another thing that particularly led to this development was access to finance. Now, why is that a very integral and important part of this discussion? Access to finance is very important because of old, if you needed to buy a car of 5 million naira, you would need to go to the bank. And 5 million naira is not small money. It's a lot of money. Now, you have to go to the bank, you submit a check, they will have to verify because of the amount of money, if indeed the money is from you, are you under duress, are you facing any security situation? These are some of the security questions that will be asked to you. So before then, the money is given to you. And even then, you also have to be careful. Of course, we've heard of many instances where people went to the bank to collect huge amounts of money and they were robbed, they were kidnapped or some sort. So now these technologies because of that demand for how can we easily move large amounts of money in such a short space of time to be able to achieve our goals, our desires. So this was a pressing question for businesses. This was a pressing question for corporate professionals. This was a pressing question for countries. Now, that is some of all these things. Now, they now began to look at, what alternative means can we use? That's why you see that the wallet system and other systems are quite popular, assisting people to be able to easily move finance. Right now, almost any individual now can send 5 million naira from their account and get that card they want to get. So you see, access to finance too is also one of those things that push the boundaries of fintech development. Now, as we continue to go on, now we now begin to look at what are the other subsets, other things that has also, assisted this development. Now, in the past, to actually get money from one particular point to another, so you needed to tell your bank will inform the other bank, and so on and so forth before eventually you get paid. In the past, like my dad who used to work for the civil service, sometimes if you hear that, they paid 2 days ago, but the money has still not reflected in the account, or it has reflected and it's not able to clear. So such delays to, other companies now began to look at it. How can we come in to shorten the process between the time the money was sent and the time the customer or the consumer or the corporation received the money? And that whole sector is called payment settlement. Payment settlement basically is a whole spectrum of its own. It involves a whole lot of transactions or activities, from verification and validation to the eventual deposit of the money into the particular's account. Now, one of the key things in this place is the API infrastructure. So for example, now some of you who want to buy something online and you from your bank, you log into let's say a platform like Jumia, and you purchase an item and the money leaves your bank. But a lot of people don't know that it's not that same day, or the moment you send the money gets to Jumia. There's a whole lot of process that goes into. So usually most transactions in Nigeria are settled T+1, meaning within that 24-hour time that it was sent to the other bank. So you have received value for what you paid for. But Jumia may not have certainly received the particular money. So a lot of processes are involved in validating, confirming that transaction, and the eventual settlement into whatever designated accounts that Jumia has provided for such payments. And even between that payment process, of course, you will notice when you log on to Jumia, you will see some payment options there. Sometimes you see pay via Paystack, you see InterSwitch, you see all other platforms. Now, those companies, they are intermediaries. Why they are not your bank? They are not agents of Jumia, but they are the ones who will sit in between, via what we call this API, an infrastructure that has been developed to allow Jumia to receive money from your bank and allow whoever the payment infrastructure is to settle the money to Jumia. So those are some of the things that have helped develop from where we were at the ATM stage to the more modern facilities that we have right now within the fintech space. So now I think I've explained a lot about that history. So now what is fintech? Fintech basically it's a very simple thing. It's using technology to aid financial transactions. Basically, that's what it is. So what does this involve? Now, there's technology in the financial space is deployed in so many ways, from payments to lending to wealth, securing wealth, and insurance as well. Now, I will just go into this thing briefly. Now, for payments, basically, you want to buy your airtime, you just simply go on your app, you click the company you want to fund the airtime, so that's whether MTN, Glo, or Airtel. Then the amount, you enter a phone number, and that's it. Payment made. You get your airtime immediately. That's payment. Also, the same example I gave for Jumia. That's payment. Then, of course, lending. Of course, there was this period where loan sharks were rampant in Nigeria and all of that. You could easily download an app, unlike the past, where you needed to get a loan form from your bank. You fill it and you take this form, you go back to the bank, they have to verify, process it, and eventually, if your loan is successful, it is cleared and it is sent to you. But right now, you have certified apps like Branch, Fairmoney, and a whole lot of others that they built a technological system whereby you are able to, in minutes, apply, get verified, submit your information, and you are able to get your loan approved. Unlike the old traditional system that took time, sometimes you could wait for as long as months to be able to get clearance. Even the banks themselves now have also adopted a system whereby they too can offer loan services to their customers on certain conditions. And of course, you have WellTech, and a lot of all these things are popular now, like your CarryWise, your PiggyVest, and all of that help you grow wealth, secure wealth. You're able to save money there. You're able to buy stocks, do a few other things. And of course, some other insurance there like AXA, Maxa, and a few others who offer such services. Now, aside the payment and processing, because most of the discourse when you hear fintech, most times what just comes to mind is apps. But the thing is that behind those apps, there's an infrastructure. Behind those apps that makes that thing possible. What that transaction you're trying to put in place, or that transaction you're trying to do, there's an infrastructural system of algorithm and codes that makes it easy for the particular command function that you're trying to do on the app to work. So that's why you see most all apps don't do the same thing. Some apps have a better, so some bank apps have been able to develop certain features for their customers, while some are still catching on. Then you then have the separate fintech companies, that's people like OPay, who is not a commercial bank. So I'm not so sure that I can still call them just fintech. And then Moneypoint as well, and a few others who are also, building from that fintech space. Well, there's an infrastructure behind it that makes those particular things possible. Now, this infrastructure connects with other people through something called an API. So an API basically is your socket that allows you to contact from one institution to another. Basically, if you have any electrical appliance, that plug it puts to the wall, to the socket, that is your API. So it allows data transfer to come from point A to point B. So the moment you go on Jumia or any of these apps, you see that junction where you have to enter your card details. That is the intersection point where both apps shake hands. So the moment you enter it through that particular point, the information transfer goes from that your particular app to the next point, confirming the transaction. So they also have that app too. The payment processor too is connecting to your own bank to confirm if there is money in your bank. And once there's money, a command is sent to your bank that based on this authorization given from XYZ with also information, kindly remove 20,000 from his account. So that money is removed from there. Like I said, it's not immediately sent to the account. Although I'm aware that InterSwitch is building a system whereby payments, merchants and customers are able to make settlements as soon as it is done, in real time. But most of transactions are not settled in real time. So I know that InterSwitch is building a system where they can settle it in real time. That is, as it has happened, the other party gets their settlement. So that API is what allows you to connect your bank, Jumia, and the payment processor. So at that point, there are 3 intersection points. So the thing that connects all those 3 is what we call an API. So basically, what fintech has come to do is to improve, access to finance, speed, and efficiency. So right now, we're able to do so much more than we were able to do years ago. So right now, some banks like I think Wema Bank, Fidelity Bank, and a few other banks, they have a transaction limit of about 25 million. In the past, imagine sometime in 2006, somebody telling you that they want to go and collect 25 million from bank. You have to inform your bank ahead, like days ahead. You have to gather the money. They also let you know when it's possible to have that kind of money. But right now you have access to 25 million naira in your account, and you're not bothered. You can have that much money and not be sleepless in the night. But in the past, if you withdraw that kind of money, I'm not sure that your 2 eyes will close for 1 second all through that night, because you'll be panicking. But now fintech has allowed us to be able to have access to our finances in a unique way, and it has also given us that ability to be able to also make transactions and payments in such a unique way as well, that allows us to achieve our goals. Businesses and small enterprises have been the best beneficiary of fintech. We are just enjoying the spectrum. We that consumers are just enjoying the spectrum. But if you see the spectrum which major businesses operate on with fintech, you understand that this thing has improved the financial sector drastically. So that's that on what is fintech. So we talked about commercial drivers of fintech. This part is a very, 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 very important part. So of course, demand for speed and convenience. Of course, like I said, you want to quickly buy a car, you have 5 million naira, you want to be able to do it quickly and possible. You can walk to a car stand as you speak, send your money, they get it, and you leave with your car. Unlike those days where you have to hope that somebody does not get there before you take your money. Now, as soon as you register interest, that is able to move that. So that ability to be able to do that is one of the things. It brings a new level of convenience, and it allows companies to be able to plan, and to be able to budget in a way that, okay, they know that they can actualize XYZ within the shortest possible time. And of course, financial inclusion. You have a large percentage of Nigerians who are currently unbanked, and new services are being developed day in, day out to allow those even in the farthest or in the darkest regions to be able to be part of the Nigerian financial system, be able to enjoy this financial inclusion. Of course, I don't know, okay, maybe some of you will still following some of the recent development. I'm aware of a company that is developing something that allows people to make transactions without the internet. Of course, some of our traditional banks have already developed something where you can send your money via USSD. You don't need network to be able to transfer money, although the amount that you can send is low, but it still gives you, a bit of relief that you still have some form of access to your finances. So even as long as there is just network reception at all, so you don't need the internet particularly, you can use your USSD code to send money to. Those are also part of this development that financial technology has afforded us. And of course, data and analytics. This one you cannot drive it out because data is one of the biggest drivers of any business anywhere in the world. Because if you don't understand the data and analytics behind your business, I'm pretty sure that after a while you will not understand where you are growing, where you are failing, and if you fail, you will not know why. So a lot of demands. If banks or some of these fintech institutions are getting a particular demand or request or feedback consistently. For example, now where an innovation has been implemented elsewhere in the globe, and you see that those who have experienced it coming back and they keep making this request, they too have to look at it. How will this help us grow? Another thing too is, I'm not sure many of you are following this AFCFT agreement that we have now, that we're a signature part of. It's going to explode our access to cross-border resources. So one of the things that we have to look at is, okay, if Nigeria now has access to over 50 countries on the African continent, so how are the individual citizens, businesses from Nigeria able to transact with people from other? So that is what has bettered the PPSS system, where people are able to make cross-border payments. You see it. So they are looking at the data that, okay, if we have 44 countries that we're going to be able to access, how do we ensure that Nigerians are able to maximize or benefit from the opportunity? Then, of course, another thing you have to look at is the regulatory modernization. That's a very, very important part, because Nigeria is a highly regulated environment, highly regulated. Even some of the regulations here don't exist in other jurisdictions. Then you begin to wonder where we get all these things from. But of course, that is very important because of the high rate of fraud and misappropriation and all those other things going on. You need something to be able to checkmate and keep the system functioning and working in a way whereby citizens or businesses are able to maximize, whatever opportunities are present. Now, one of the important things I will make a very important reference. Now, I'm pretty sure many of you are aware of the ARIC program, that's the Accelerated Regulatory Incubation Program that SEC has come up with to allow people to be able to engage in cryptocurrency transactions. As of this moment, I think only 2 companies have received approval in principle. That's Kudas and Pusher. Now, why are they doing that? They are looking at the adoption of cryptocurrency, which has been a theme in Nigeria for as far back as 2017, where people have been dealing with cryptocurrency transactions. Now, they are also looking at the opportunities within when it comes to international remittance, cross-border payments, and all of that. And of course, taxes. So they're also looking at that, how would the government benefit? But instead of leaving it open in a way whereby it can be manipulated by any individual, they are working on building a system. And of course, many of you know that Binance is no longer here because of the issues around money laundering and all of that. So they have come up with a system whereby, okay, we are able to accredit persons who can participate in this industry. Now, that's also, as soon as the system becomes workable, now you're not going to see a lot of people now looking at how best to maximize the market. So people are now going to look at how they can come in, harness the financial strength of the Nigerian market. So you see, regulatory modernization is one of those things that helps the growth of sectors. Once you find once the government puts in place regulations that are able to open up development to research in a particular sector, you begin to see people are going to more or less want to go into that particular sector. So that's also a major driver of the of that particular sector. Then another thing we have to look at is this open banking system. You know, the framework was developed by the CBN and it came out in 2021. Yes. So basically, it's basically using, you know, API-based data sharing system. One of those things you have now is, okay, for example, now some of you have OPay, but if you look at OPay, you will notice that there's an option or there's a link between OPay and Easy Money. So that customers are able to take loan. Now, you notice when you go to that Easy Money app from OPay, you don't re-enter your details. You are not re-entering your details again for the first time. Why is that? Because by you clicking on that, accepting and consenting, OPay has supplied Easy Money your information. Do you understand? So you will not need to re-enter all those details again, and OPay just supplied it to them. So whatever transaction you want to do with them, it just works and it clicks. So that's what this open banking system. So it's API based. You know, like I said, I explained to you what APIs are. Basically, that connecting socket between, you know, contact A and contact B. It could be between your bank and the payment processor. It could be the payment processor and the merchant where you are getting the particular thing from. So basically that's what the open banking system is all about. Basically, it relies on the customer consent. It's not automatic, you know, in that banks will just have or apps or institutions don't automatically have your data. That's not what it's all about. The reason why it's not automatic is because of data protection concerns. Of course, you are following, you know, that the data protection of 2023 defines that customer consent is a very important aspect of, you know, data sharing. So that's basically what it does. It allows you to, you know, do that. Of course, I think it was early this year or some time ago, I received a notification from my OPay app telling me that I was not qualified for their buy now pay later program. I think it's something they recently launched. I don't know. But when they said that, they asked me if I wanted to accept or confirm. Now that is one of these open banking system. So if I said yes, that would mean, okay, I'm doing this. Of course, you have a CBK where you have the option of linking your bank to, you know, the app to be able to pay small on some things. I've never used it, so I don't really know how that CBK works. But I know that it's the same technology, the same process, you know. So the moment you agree, you connect it to your bank, you are able to also, you know, just directly send the information so they can make the piece from your bank when the time is right. So that's what this open banking system all about. And one of the good things about this open banking system is that it will save you time when you are moving. But my concern particularly with Nigeria most times is how secure their data protection framework is. That's always a big issue because most of the times you share data with one party A. Party A may own party B, C, and D. And inadvertently, because they are sharing the same database, party B, C, and D who has not obtained consent from you would still go on to now start. For example, you may now start getting notifications from an app you have never used in your life. You are now wondering, how did they get my number? How did they reach out to me? Or are they sending me emails? You know, those are some of the worries that comes with this open banking system. But of course, the framework gave a standard guideline on what should be and what should not be. Although because it's still fairly new, it's at still the infancy stage, as I would like to say. So I think with time, after a few while of ups and downs, we'll be able to find a balance within, you know, this sector. So yes, so it's a good one. It will still allow other fintech companies offer, you know, good or better services to existing customers of a financial institution. So of course, embedded finance is a very it's closely related to open banking, but just a different structure. So most of all these things are, like I said, they are just spectrums of, the fintech industry. So basically, for example, now some of you have Child Deck app and you have a wallet system in there. Normally, they are not a bank. Now that wallet in there now, you cannot withdraw and you cannot withdraw from it or use it for anything else other than that particular purpose because they are not a bank. They cannot be an enabling for paying and payouts. You understand? So that particular purpose, and even if you see it, that money per se is not really there because they cannot hold funds. They don't have that capacity. So they cannot hold funds. So the money is not there, but the value representation of the money is what you have in that particular account. Because when you made that payment, it went to their own settlement account, but the value of it was represented on your account. And if you notice, that's why if you need to make if for any reason, maybe you need to close that account, you need a refund for that particular money. The money is not sent back to you same day. It cannot be sent back to you same day because they don't have that ability to process payments and payouts. So those are options that embedded finance offers to people. So of course, another thing you can also look at, some of all these apps, they are not payment apps. For example, now Jumia can allow you see a wallet, Jumia wallet there. Jumia is not a, although I think they used to have a fintech in Nigeria, but I think it has been discontinued. It only happens like Egypt. So Egypt and a few, I think Kenya. So I'm not so sure of that, but I know that the app is not as this thing. So yeah. Now, so you see the wallet there, but it's not. They are not the ones holding the money. Like I said, it's the value representation that is on the app. The actual money is not there, which is why they cannot send it back to you. Of course, also lending apps and all that. So these are applications or services that you find in non-financial platform. There are these platforms you don't know them to be a financial platform. For example, now my internet I use for the house. There's this thing that you top up, you keep it there, then you're able to use it, top up again, and you're able to recharge your internet. Now the money is there, the value representation is there, but that place, they are not holding the money directly. It's not they're not holding it for me at any time that I can utilize it for any other means outside payment for that particular service that I am enjoying. So these embedded finance is the financial services that are in non-financial platforms. So that's why I try to give as many examples as possible, to help. Also your buy now, pay later to skip. Now, CDK is not a financial institution, but they have such a service whereby they are able to assist, the payment or assist on financial services. So that's that about that. So now you have I will talk about the global payment system. Now, the global payment system, it's a very wide area. Some aspects of the global payment system non-existent here. For example, like the blockchain cryptocurrency payments are acceptable. Although cryptocurrency is not legal, but CBA said you can use our infrastructure to do that. Which is why SEC came up with the ARIP, and they are trying to work on some. I need to still take time, for development, improvement, and implementation. So it now becomes a mainstay within the fintech sector. But I think the inherent risks around is still one of the reasons why most economies around the globe have not adopted it as part of their financial system. So let me come down to the main things that are on ground. Of course, you have card networks and all that. So card networks includes your Visa, your MasterCard. So that Visa and MasterCard, they are not owned by the bank. They are card networks. So they have a partnership with those banks. So they're able to help those banks process payments through their card networks. That's why you see that some apps you go to, they say they don't accept VEV. Some say they don't accept this one. Some will say they don't accept that one. Why are they able to say that? They don't have a partnership whereby payments can be processed payments from certain card networks can be processed via their system. And of course, the issue of digital wallets, almost every platform now has a digital wallet where you are able to make deposits into and out of all this. Then real-time payments was one of the things I explained to you about what InterSwitch is doing so that customers can receive payments, as it has been made. And of course, I spoke about cross-border payments earlier on. You have applications like, so I spoke of it in terms of Africa just now. So let's look at it from a broader perspective, like around the globe, So I'm sure many of you have heard Western Union. You send money through Western Union, it comes down to Nigeria and all of that, and they have to go to the bank, submit certain special details, what the source of the money is, and all that. Now, there are different ways of importing, money, remitting money to a particular country. So a lot of persons don't understand that it's not the same for every purpose. Now, as a business, if you are bringing money into Nigeria, it's quite different from as an individual you are bringing money into Nigeria. So, of course, as a business, that's a direct investment. You're making direct investment into the country, and you are bringing cash. Now you have to go through CBN, CCI system, which is your getting your certificate of capital importation. When they send you money, you have to confirm with your bank, confirm with CBN, then the money is cleared. I think the window, I can't remember when it closes in a day, because it's been a while since I did anything in that regard. Now, why is that important? So the government is able to know that this is how much money is coming in for businesses. And also another reason why that's a very important aspect of businesses is because of money laundering, fraud, and a few other things, So we are able to understand what the purpose of these funds are. Although there are a lot of illegal remittances to Nigeria, whereby people just bring in money through alternative apps who may not really be licensed by the central bank or may have a partnership agreement with a local bank. Now, I'm not certain as to the timeline. I know that some time ago the CBN discontinued outbound MTO licenses because to stabilize how much money was leaving the country, capital repatriation, and all of that. So their work, more or less, the drive as at this moment is to bring in more money than is leaving the country. So we have much more money coming in than is leaving. That's why you've seen there's been a lot of advocacy around building systems for local remittance, not international transfer. As many of you are aware, you could remember the old dollar for naira scheme that was implemented by Emefiele, although there were so many questions around the effectiveness, where they were encouraging people to bring dollars, and I think for every $100, I think it was 1,000 naira that the person was to pay entitled to. So I know that was to spur, Yes, can you hear you? Hello, can you, will you speak to me?
Hello, sir. Sorry
Yeah, go on.
interrupt, sir. Please.
Sorry, I can't hear you. Victor, if you don't want to talk, I cannot hear you. Sorry, can anyone hear me? I'm not hearing him. He's talking to me.
Yes, sir, we can hear you. I can hear you clearly from my own end.
Okay. So sorry, Sophia, maybe you can step in. Is there something? Is it about the time? If my time is almost up, just let me know how many minutes so that I'll just round up, and we can proceed to the other section. Sorry, I cannot hear you. Or should I just? So please just let me know what the situation is so that I can be guided, and so what next?
Okay, sir. So sorry about the interjection, sir. And my network has been fluctuating and logging in and out. So I just wanted to point out the fact that, sir, you've gone a little far short of your time, right? And we have a second speaker on the call, sir. So we don't know if it's possible for you to maybe round up, sir.
Okay, yes. Okay, I will just stop here at this. Well, let me see the next slide. Okay, I will just give me 2 minutes to just rush through this key system. And okay, so basically the ecosystem is driven by your consumers, which are the main beneficiaries. They include both consumers as in individuals, consumers as in enterprises and organizations. Then of course the startups who are pioneering the development, of course the banks, very important part of it. You cannot take them out of it. Then payment processors, yeah, then the regulators who will guide the innovations around this ecosystem. Of course, the technological partners, the ones whose technology and platform you are using. Then, of course, regulation. Of course, CBN is at the apex of it. Many of you are aware that there's a fintech regulation bill that is in the National Assembly. As to how fruitful it will be, we don't know that. Then, of course, data protection is an important aspect of all this. Then the open banking framework, other regulators that are, regulate other aspects of it, like the SCCPC, of course. Then let me just talk about this career path that is involved in fintech. So one of the things, of course, there's product management, how it works, then compliance and legal, the spectrum where me I'm operating in, payment operations, software engineering, the software that's particularly used for all these risk and fraud, very important aspect of it, monitoring transactions, evaluating the purpose, and the due diligence involved in all of that. Of course, then there's the data analytics. It will help you know which markets you should enter, where you should enter, which product is moving where, which services are being used where. That's very important. Also helps you know how you guide your marketing strategy, expansion strategy, and of course, business development, expansion movement. That is carried on the back of all these guys. So I think I will stop here, and yes, I will just stop there. Yes.
All right, thank you, Mr. Romeo. We'll be reverting back to you a little bit later in the session, right? We will be asking you to give feedback to the presentations that were prepared by the mentees after they are done presenting. But thank you so much, sir, for the discourse, right? It was very, very extensive, and I'm sure all the mentees on the call were able to really focus and pay attention to everything that you said. Please, I can see Mr. Victor reacting to your presentation. Please, can we have other mentees react? Let's just show that we actually do appreciate Mr. William for the time that he has spent, not just in the discourse, but also, thank you so much, sir. We really, really do appreciate it. So yes, we'll be reverting to our next mentor who is on the call. Thank you so much, George, for sticking still to the class. We really do appreciate your presence in the session today. Thank you so much, sir, for joining. We also want to give you the floor to also share your thoughts on the topic for today.
All right, good afternoon. Please confirm you can hear me.
Yes, sir, we can hear you, sir.
Yes,
All
can
right.
hear you.
Okay, thank you very much. Time is fast spent already. And great presentation from the opening mentor. It was quite a very detailed one around the topics that we are covering. I'll just do a little joiner and try to keep it as brief so that we can be able to move in. If we look at how we have brought these topics together, I think I see something around the financial development of fintech, and I think I see something now having the sub focus on embedded finance and open banking, right? And then of course the general world of payment. Quite topics that literally can have lives of their own, right? And but we try to weave it together, having the focus on those two areas of the fintech play. embedded finance and open banking. But just a quick one on the general, financial side of financial development of fintech, right? A lot has been already said around that. But as a fintech, right, the determination of you being a fintech and what you want to do, of course, is critical to the commercial side of things. You are definitely in business to provide one form of financial solution leveraging technology, right? And the reason why you're doing that is to get paid, is to make money, right? To be able to receive value, right? In terms of payments, while you're providing value in terms of whatever financial services that you're facilitating or you're providing, right? So it is first starting point is understanding what part of that value chain do you situate yourself commercially, right? How do you position yourself as a fintech to actually have commercial value? When we see transactions happen, typically, it looks very straightforward for those of us that are on the customer side of things. You take your card, for example, and then you make a payment in at the merchant shop, right? On POS machine, and you go. It looks very simple, whereby money has been debited from your card, right? The earlier mentor talked about that whole transaction cycle, and of course, your merchant is settled, right? And then you leave. But as a fintech, for example, when you look at that transaction, right, in between there are a lot of guys that are facilitated or have different roles to play in that simple looking transaction, right? And each of them share in the monies that you're paying as fee from that transaction. So as a fintech, for example, you're looking, where do I want to find myself if I want to, for example, go into this kind of service, right? The guy uses his card in the merchant shop. Are you the guy that is going to provide the solution that the guy wants to actually patronize, right? Are you going to be the issuer? The issuer is basically the person that issued that card, right? Most time being guys with banking licenses, right? Or fintechs that have extended licenses with banks that also issue cards. So are you going to be the issuer, right? Are you the card scheme, Mastercard, Visa, Verb is also part of that transaction. It's also earning some part of that transaction, right? Are you going to be the switch? The guys like InterSwitch that are actually facilitating how those cards are also going, in between the issuer and then the next guy that is the acquirer, right? The guy who's is facilitating giving the merchant that money that is being debited from your account, right? Are you going to be the PTSP? The PTSP is the guy that actually owns that terminal that you're actually putting that POS terminal you're actually inserting your card into, right? So in a simple transaction, there's behind the scenes, there are different elements and different participants in that transaction, right? That carry out different services, and share in the transaction fee that that you pay, right, when you make services. So firstly is understanding how you want to the commercial model you want to run, depending on the part of the spectrum that you try to play in, right? As a fintech, right? Whether it is that you are on the whether it is that you're providing banking related services, payment related services, lending related services, whatever service that you want to provide, it's how do you play, right, in the commercial spectrum of that service provision. Just because you say I'm into payments doesn't mean that for example, I issue digital wallets, right? Doesn't mean that when somebody uses that wallet within that service, they are other fintechs or other participants that you're not aware that are taking part back end, to facilitate that whole transaction beyond the fintech that you see that is actually giving you that wallet to say, I'm providing wallet services as a fintech, right? So it's for you to get clarity around that entire chain, where you want to be able to get your commercial value from, as a fintech, right? Before you now start figuring out how to actually give acquire customers that will use who your target of course customers are and who would pay for that particular services. Now, if we quickly come to the guys that we want to really focus on, the embedded finance and open banking, right? They have a place where they both cross each other because open banking actually facilitates or makes embedded finance to happen, right? If you talk about uh, um, uh, embedded finance, you're just simply talking about how you can integrate financial services, right, directly into things that are not financial, whether it's apps or platforms, right, so that you just make it convenient. You just make it easy, for somebody to carry out, transaction and get services very easily. So you're embedding, which is where the name comes from. You're embedding financial services, right? It can be payments, it can be lending, it can be insurance, right, into typical non-financial applications or non-financial platforms, right? If you come for and then you can now look at what is the spectrum of that embedded finance that you as a fintech you're interested in. For example, you can look at embedded payments, right? If you're looking at embedded payments, you're now looking at the how can I facilitate checkout when somebody's buying something, right? I want to facilitate the person to be able to pay. When someone is using a service. So, for example, today we use Bolt, right? We use Uber, right? The business of Uber is actually the part around facilitating that transportation, right? But they need to collect their money. They need to be paid. The drivers need to be paid for the services they are providing. So somebody is powering as embedded payments into your ride-hailing app, into Bolt, into Uber, to be able to facilitate payments within the application that you're using, right? Or you want to buy something on Jumia. Somebody mentioned, mentioned Jumia earlier. Jumia is in the business of online sales, right? Selling, merchandising. But the core payment end of it, when you're not checking out, somebody has embedded payment there so that when you're buying something, right, within the same platform, right, you are able to easily check out, right? You look at embedded lending, right? Platforms that provide loans inside applications, right? You're doing especially when it comes to buy now, pay later, right? You're shopping, and while you're shopping, you see an option for buy now, pay later, right? Somebody has embedded lending inside that shopping site, right? Inside that e-commerce platform, so that when you now want to learn as okay, I want to pay, with a loan. I want to buy now. I want to use buy now, pay later, and then within that same platform, it's sort of accreditation is done, right, to see whether you qualify for it and how much you qualify for, and then the terms are given to you, right? And for you to see that, sometimes they will ask you to provide a few information. Now, behind the scene, for them to do that assessment of you, they are talking to most likely one of the information that you're going to provide would have something to do, with your account of some sort, some bit of your financial history, right? And for them to really do that assessment, somebody is using just the way the moderator was explained earlier around what they call APIs, right? Somebody's having a handshake with your banking institution or the financial institution that warehouses that data, right? Using whatever it is that you are provided as a parameter to go and search whether it's your account number or whatever it is, for example, that they ask for you to put in the form to see if you qualify for that loan, right? To use buy now, pay later. Now somebody is calling that your institution to check your history, to do some checks around how much do this guy qualify for, if he qualifies, and those things happen in seconds, right? And that is, we'll come to open banking, and that is actually what open banking is. That handshake, with your bank, for example, your bank information, to give that data, right, to the guy that is providing that embedded lending, to be able to make the decision whether or not to lend to you, right? So you look at use cases like in embedded insurance, right? You see sometimes you're buying a flight ticket to travel abroad, and then within that platform where you're buying a flight ticket, somebody's offering you an insurance service, to also buy insurance for your travel, right? Within the same platform. Yeah. You see guys whereby are doing embedded digital systems or digital wallets, right? Or with big retailers today, right? You see the guys that now have loyalty cards, and with these loyalty cards, they're like prepaid cards. You can still use them in like debit cards for payments, right? You can use them to pay, right? So you see very, very big retailers that issue loyalty cards, and you use those loyalty cards just the way you normally use your prepaid ATM cards, right? So there are so many ways that you can embed finance into non-financial platform. It's about what value, what financial value, right, do I want to bring in to make whatever it is that the consumers are coming to that app to. What do you think can complement that particular experience? So if you look at any non-financial application, for example, or any non-financial service, you say, what do I want to use to complement the experience, the value proposition of this service, or what is the financial part that is needed, right, in this place, that is complementary to whatever it is that that platform is originally meant to do. You understand? So it's whether or not we become interested in the embedded finance play, but it's all around us, right? We see it all around us, and sometimes we are not even cautious, right? We're not conscious about it because you're just getting value that you want to get from the particular application or the particular platform that you are, but unconsciously there's somebody there, there's a fintech there, offering some form of financial services that you partake in. Sometimes you will see the fintech clearly. Sometimes the fintech is hidden as per branding, right? It is they just provide the service behind the scene, and the owners of the platform just white label those services, kind of use their own brand over those services, but those services are powered behind the scene, right, by the fintech. And like I mentioned earlier, to be able to do this, some of these kind of services, you need open banking as a play, right? And then that brings me to the open banking bit of the conversation, and that's just basically where third-party providers, guys like you, if you're a fintech, or someone aspiring to run one, have secure access to financial data, right? Basically, how you can get access to financial data to provide services. And the most important part of open banking, right, is consent, right? The customer's consent. That means you as a customer, you're consenting that somebody should be able to handshake with your financial institutions to get data around your finance, right? To provide a service that you are interested in. So it comes with you being interested with a service, and then that service needing your financial data to determine, or either give you that service or determine if you qualify for that service, and you giving the consent, right, to your own financial institution to provide or allow your data, to be given, by that third party, right? Is heavily around cases like loans, lending. It's a very easy and straightforward way, how open banking operates today when you want to collect a loan, right? From whatever app. I mean, someone mentioned Branch earlier too. For Branch to qualify you for those loans, they need to look at data, your financial data from different sources, right? And ability to look at those data from different sources, is because within those sources, they already have that open banking access, right, to use those data that you're providing to check, whether you qualify and to what level of qualification they can give you, right? There are guys that do personal finance management, right, whereby they try to help you make sense of your financial spending, whether it's you getting personalized financial advice, whether it's you helping you track how you spend. Guys providing those kind of services, like Mono, for example, needs uses your financial data and then try to help you interpret it, try to help you give you visibility on your spend, right? So there are some ways, where you could leverage open banking to as a fintech to power your service, right? Some fintechs give services like account aggregation, aggregating accounts, right? Whereby you want to in one single place have all your bank accounts so you'll be able to manage or view them all at once, right? You see some payments that also have very direct handshake with open banking, where you have an option to pay checkouts, by accounts, right? You see where they say pay with account, and then when you click pay with account, they give you one widget or one screen to enter your banking details, or they'll call up your bank's own interface for you to log into your bank, enter with your bank details, and then with that they're able to debit you and then pass that payment, right? So sometimes even in onboarding, right? Investment, all these wealth apps that gives savings and investment services. The popular one we know was the saving platform uh, that's really taken over for the most part now. What's the name now? Uh, the name is skipping my head. I can't remember, but it will come to my head pretty soon. But guys like Piggyvest, yeah. So guys like Piggyvest, for example, this is what they do, right? For them to be able to save, they're literally facilitating or leveraging on open banking to help you with those very savings products, right? Even the ones that offer investments products, right? It's all different kinds of applications that now offer different kind of investment products, right? They are all leveraging open banking in different forms. So there are various use of open banking. At the end of the day, just to say, how do I want to leverage financial data, right, to provide a service? Or do I need to leverage financial data to provide a service? How can I securely access that financial data with the consent of the person that has the financial data? And that is everything around open banking, right? So to kind of just wrap this up is to say, when you look at the world of payment, like you put it, right? The world of payment is a very wild and landscape, right? And you can easily get into swallowed into the various mechanics of it, right? But as somebody that's either aspiring to play in the fintech space from a founder perspective, or somebody that's planning to work in the fintech space, these are knowledge that you need, right? Even if you want to provide legal knowledge, legal services within the fintech space, you're looking at fintech guys as your client, right? The world of payment is vast. You might want to be a generalist, right? To understand, okay, let me understand how this payment system works. Or you want to be a specialist to say, when it comes to this facet of payments, I'm the guy that they need to go to, right? When it comes to, for example, providing onboarding, frictionless onboarding, right? Legal documentations around onboarding. This is they would know me for that. When it comes to credit assessment, facilitating credit assessment, I'm your guy, right? When it comes to this personal financial management, right? Especially guys that are into a lot of wealth creation services and all. I am the guy that they would have to go to help in those kind of setups. So it's either you look at the entire space, which if you're not very vested into the fintech space as a player, right, it might easily swallow you. Or you can take a niche part of the space, whether it's the embedded finance, whether it's the open banking, even within those service areas, you can still niche down to the particular areas of focus that you want to be able to get very deep knowledge that you can commercialize, either as a worker, either as a consultant, either as a legal professional, or when you now want to get to the point where you want to be a founder, right? But the long and short of it is understanding what it is that you want to do and what are the mechanics of how it works. If you want to offer X service, you need to understand how does this service work behind the scene. I give an example with the payment one on the transaction. You need to understand how does that thing travel. If you want to offer lending, you need to understand what exactly is happening behind the scene for me to be able to, bring a loan app, right? The path, who are the different players behind the scene, that makes this happen, right? The credit bureau guys, the bank, the your assessment model, right? So you need to know every facet of whatever service that you want to be able to get involved with in the fintech or in that payment space, because it's very broad, all right? And once you start by narrowing down or doubling down on that particular area, it becomes easy. But if you just try to look at it from a broad level and of payments, right, you can, like I said, it could get very you could get very soaked in it, and then it becomes very overwhelming, right? But look at everything broadly and now say, okay, this is the part I really want to start with, and then gradually, if you're more vested within the space, you can keep expanding your knowledge to understand how value, right, is actually gotten within any of these um, models of payments, right, that we have. So, I mean, just to give us a very brief and summary around the key tenets of the topic that we are having today. I mean, as we discuss further, I'm sure maybe some more can make more buttress more points or questions around it down the line. Thank you. I think I'll keep it here because of our time.
Thank you so much, Mr. George. We really, really did enjoy your discourse and you sharing your thoughts with us in the session. So not to waste any further time, please, we want to take presentation. I want us to strictly adhere to time. We have 10 minutes each for presentation for the group members, 10 minutes. Please let 10 minutes be 10 minutes. Right, so group one presenter, if you are with us, or the person standing up as a backup presenter, if you are with us, we'll be taking your presentation right about now. So please kindly share your slides. If you need help, notify me that you need help with sharing your slides, and I will do that immediately.
Good afternoon, sir. Please,
Yes,
can I
good
be
afternoon,
heard?
Michelle. Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, good afternoon, distinguished mentors. My name is Michelle. I'll be presenting on behalf of Group 1. Please, I would need your assistance. I request your assistance with the slides for Group 1.
All right, so give me a minute. I will do that right now. All right, still just a second. Sorry, I'm trying to draw it up.
Okay, sir.
All right, can you see my screen?
Okay, yes, I can. Thank you very much.
Yes. Okay, please make it 10 minutes, please.
Okay. Thank you so much for this opportunity. Our topic for the presentation is the commercial development of fintech. And under that, we have on our table of content, we have 6 major topics. We'll be discussing open banking, the impact on traditional banking models, consumer adoption and trust, embedded finance, role of technology platforms, as well as the regulatory compliance in embedded finance, which specifically is what I believe Mr. Victor sort of made reference to when he was talking to us a few minutes ago. On open banking overview, simply put, open banking is a financial service model that allows third-party service providers to access consumer data from traditional banking systems. And during the course of the class already, Mr. Romeo and Mr. Victor made references to open banking. I believe Mr. Romeo did mention something in regards to Jumia when he was talking about that. It allows for third-party developers to access financial data through APIs. APIs also mean application programming in interface. Yes, application programming interface. Then it encourages innovation in financial services, and customers can share their financial data securely with approved providers. And it also promotes competition and better financial products. In summary, it helps with ease. It makes the services easier to access. We'll talk about that more as we go further. Then on the open banking regulatory frameworks, under this, I would also highlight, although it's not on the slide, but I also highlight one of the regulatory bodies as well as a key legislation under this. But first, governments create regulations to ensure safe data sharing. Regulatory frameworks also define how banks share customer data, and they protect consumers and ensure fair competition. Example of frameworks include banking API standards and data protection laws. For example, the Nigerian Data Protection Act of 2023, which is one of the key legislations, and one of the regulatory bodies is CBN, as we may know, the Central Bank of Nigeria. Then for security and privacy concerns, open banking requires access to sensitive financial data, and this has its own risks, which include cyber attacks, data breaches, and identity theft. In this case, strong encryption and authentication are required. Data protection laws have been put in place to help safeguard customer information. The impact on traditional banking models. Traditional banks face increased competition from fintech firms. In the last class, we learned that fintech is also short for financial technology. Banks must innovate to stay competitive. And recently, we've seen that there has been an increase in the collaboration between banks and fintech companies, and banks are shifting more from closed systems to open platforms. Under the heading of consumer adoption and trust, consumers must trust the system to share financial data, and that means transparency and strong security increases adoption. Also, user-friendly applications improve consumer experience, and public awareness is important for adoption. I'll make reference to let's use OPE for instance. There was a time, and I believe it was said in the last class, there was a time when this fintech firms first came out. For example, OPE especially, it was, people were a bit skeptical. And they're like, we had a lot of rumors, it will crash, your money is not safe there. But you see, over the years, they have built, their interface is very user-friendly, very easy to use, and somehow it has built that trust with their consumers, created more awareness, and that's where you get more people on the platform. Then over to embedded finance, the embedded finance overview. Embedded finance integrates financial services into non-financial platforms. For example, it includes payment, loans, or insurance within apps. Then businesses can offer financial services without being banks. And this improves convenience for consumers. For the integration challenges with existing systems, that's the integration challenges fintech faces with existing systems. Many financial institutions still rely on legacy systems, or in a better way to just understand, let's say the traditional systems. And sometimes integrating modern APIs can be technically difficult. And upgrading systems require high investments. And system compatibility issues may arise. Now, I just want to give a very relatable restriction, right? There are some areas in our country, I could make reference to some rural areas where fintech firms don't really have a standing ground. They would rather, you would see people that would rather go to the bank, or they would, okay, for instance, let me use a personal experience. During a short time last year in Ekiti, or year specifically. Now, over there, people had more trust in UBA Bank rather than the OPE, because, I mean, they know UBA, right? So that's like to explain how some places, to not only some financial institutions, some places there's that restriction where they would rather trust the traditional banking system rather than fintech firms, which they cannot easily see per se. Then on opportunities that fintech has created for SMEs, one of those, I'm so sorry, SMEs gain easier access to digital financial services. There's faster payments, processing improves cash flow. Embedded finance can also offer loans directly within platforms, and it supports business growth and financial inclusion. For instance, when you get to a supermarket, I mean, most times these days we don't really hold cash. You're either using your OPay, your money point. There's just that ease in transactions. Even to a fruit seller under an umbrella, even to a cobbler, even to it's that simple now. And then for the role of technology platforms enable embedded financial services, as we've already discussed. And these platforms provide infrastructure such as APIs and payment gateways, and they connect banks, fintech firms, and businesses. And the examples of this include e-commerce and digital payment platforms. As for the regulatory compliance in embedded finance, companies must, not could, not may, but must comply with financial regulations. Compliance includes anti-money laundering and data protection laws. And this is very, very important because it deals with consumers, the financial data of consumers. And any terrible exposure could invite fraudulent actors into the scene. And we all know what happens from there. A lot of complaints, money gone missing, and basically cyber attacks. Regulators also ensure consumer protection. Businesses must monitor risks and follow legal requirements. In conclusion, on this presentation, open banking and embedded finance are shaping the future of finance as we can see. and they promote innovation, competition, and financial inclusion. I mean, these days the options are almost never ending. And effective regulation and strong technology infrastructure are very essential. Thank you so much. That brings me to the end of this presentation. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Michelle, for that presentation, that wonderful presentation. Well done to you and to your team members for putting it together and for your delivery. You were easy flowing and were able to really understand what you were saying. So well done to you, Michelle. Please, we would like to take the two presentation quick as we took the plans. So please, presenter for group two, let's quickly take your presentation so that we can redirect or we can retreat or redirect back to the mentors, like I said.
Yeah, good
So
afternoon.
presenter for,
I'm
yes,
here.
good afternoon, Mr. Vic.
Okay, can I share my screen?
Please go ahead.
Okay, just a minute. Okay. Please can my screen be seen? Yeah, can
Yes,
everybody see my,
can.
can you see my screen?
Yes, we can see your screen.
Okay, that's good. Thank you. So, good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon, mentors. Good afternoon, moderators and also mentees. My name is Victor Chinoso Emmanuel, and I'll be speaking for my group, which is group two. So we'll be speaking on the topic, which is commercial development of fintech, and then we'll be touching across certain subtopics, right? Which is the world of payments, digital wallet and mobile payment, cross-border payment solutions, crypto currency and blockchain in payments, evolution of contactless payments technologies, fintech and financial inclusion, access to financial services in emerging markets, microfinance and fintech collaboration, challenges in reaching the unbanked population, and lastly, social and economic impact of fintech-driven financial inclusion. So I would go to the so what is commercial development of fintech? Commercial development of fintech refers to the growth, expansion, and use of financial technology as profitable business services in the financial industry. It involves fintech companies creating and selling digital financial products that make financial services faster, cheaper, and more accessible to individuals and businesses. In short, commercial development in fintech involves a world of payment which entails digital transactions, instant payment, and global connectivity. So, in essence, financial technology, which is fintech, represents the integration of technology with financial services to enhance accessibility, efficiency, transparency, and scalability of financial transactions. So, going further, we'll talk about key areas of commercial fintech development. One, the digital payment. Two, mobile banking and digital wallet. Three, blockchain and cryptocurrency. Four, cross-border payment systems. And five, online lending and microfinance. So key areas of commercial development of fintech. One, digital payment. So technology now allows people to send and receive money instantly through mobile phones, cards, and apps. So these networks function as intermediary infrastructure connecting merchants, banks, and consumers. So the number two, which is mobile banking and digital wallet. Financial services are now provided through apps where users can store money, make payments, and transfer funds. So when we talk about mobile banking and digital wallet, they enable users to send money, receive money, pay merchants, store digital currency, and manage financial accounts. So talk about the next point, which is blockchain and cryptocurrency. Secure digital systems enable decentralized transactions without traditional banks. So further, cryptocurrency represents decentralized digital money secured by cryptography and blockchain technology. So going further, number 4, cross-border payment systems. So fintech provide cheaper and faster international mobile transfers across borders. And so also inclusive, traditional cross-border payment systems relied heavily on banking networks. To be sure, please, can anyone still hear me? So I won't be talking to myself.
Yes, we can still hear you.
Okay, that's fine, thank you. So so going to the next point, which is online lending and microfinance. So digital platform give loans to individuals and businesses more easily. So going to the next point, we're talking about the evolution of contactless technologies. I'm trying to ensure that I can see this clearly. Just a minute, sorry. Put this thing this way. Okay. Okay, go ahead then. So evolution of contactless payment technologies. So the evolution of contactless payment technologies refers to how payment systems have developed over time to allow people to pay for goods and services by tapping or waving a device such as a card, smartphone, or smartwatch without inserting a card or using cash. The stages of evolution of contactless payment are summarized below. So, number 1, we have the early electronic card payment. So, initially, payments were made using magnetic stripe cards, which required swiping the card through a payment machine. But this method was slower and physical contact with the terminal was made. And so the next point is chip and pin technology. So to improve security, banks introduced the EMV chip card. And these cards had embedded microchips and required users to insert the card and enter a PIN to do their transactions. And so number 3 is introduction of contactless card. So around the mid 2000s, contactless cards were introduced. They use radio frequency identification, which is RFID, or near field communication, NFC technology. Users, and then it helped users to simply tap their card on a payment terminal for quick transactions. And then going to the next point, which is mobile contactless payment. So with the rise of smartphones, mobile payment systems were developed, right? And so apps and digital wallets, such as Apple Pay, Google Pay, and Samsung Pay, all using their phones through NFC technology. And so the next point we'll be talking about is mobile contactless payment. So with the rise of smartphones, mobile payment systems were developed. Apps and digital wallets such as Apple Pay, Google Pay, and Samsung Pay allow users to pay using their phones through NFC technology. Oh, I just read that already. So the next point is wearable payment devices. Contactless payment technology expanded further to wearable devices like smartwatches and fitness bands. These devices store digital payment information and allow users to tap their watch to pay. So just to a quick back, we're talking about the evolution of contactless payment technologies, right? And so lastly, we'll talk about future development. So the future of contactless payment includes biometric authentication, which is fingerprint or facial recognition, Internet of Things like IoT payment, and and then thirdly, faster and more secure digital payment systems. So let me go to the next point. So we'll talk about fintech and financial inclusion. Fintech and financial inclusion. So just a minute. Okay. Okay. So financial inclusion means ensuring that individuals and businesses have access to affordable financial services such as savings, payments, credit, and insurance. Fintech helps achieve this by inclusion using digital technologies like mobile banking, online lending platforms, and digital wallets to provide financial services to people who previously had limited or no access to traditional banks. So further, according to World Bank, over 1.4 billion adults globally remain unbanked. So, but fintech addresses the gap through mobile money, microcredit, and digital banking. So going further, access to financial services in emerging markets. So in many emerging markets, large parts of the population lack access to traditional banking services due to distance, high cost, or poor infrastructure. Fintech solutions such as mobile money, digital banking apps, and agent banking allow people to send, receive, and save money using mobile phones, making financial services more accessible and affordable. So further, in countries like Nigeria, right, traditional banking infrastructure has historically been limited. However, fintech platforms enable access to services, right, such as mobile banking, digital lending, and digital savings accounts, like we have in Cowrywise and such. So going further, microfinance and fintech collaboration. Microfinance and fintech collaboration. So microfinance institutions provide small loans and financial services to low-income individuals and small businesses. When combined with fintech technologies, these services become more efficient through digital loan applications, mobile payment, and data-driven credit assessment, enabling faster loan approvals and wider outreach. So for example, a fintech company partners with a microfinance bank, right, to analyze mobile phone data, to assess borrower credit worthiness, and also to issue microloans instantly. So our next point is challenges in reaching the unbanked population. So despite fintech growth, there are several challenges which still limit financial inclusion. And these challenges include limited internet access, low digital literacy, lack of trust in financial systems, regulatory barriers, and poverty, which make it difficult for some population to adopt digital financial services. Sorry, I'm trying to rush it up. So going further, we'll talk about social and economic impact of fintech-driven financial inclusion. So social and economic impact of fintech-driven financial inclusion. So fintech-driven financial inclusion can have significant positive effect on society and the economy, which includes it helps reduce poverty, it supports small businesses, it increases savings and investment, uh, it improves economic participation by giving more people the ability to manage their finances and participate in the formal economy. And lastly, in a way, I so much believe that fintech has helped for gender equality, right? You don't need to go there and put your face there and all. You just have to, through your phone, you put up your KYC, you go through the regulatory requirements, and then you have access to create your account or get loans possibly. So going further, importance of commercial fintech development. So what are the importance of commercial fintech development? One, it improves financial inclusion. More people can now access banking services. Two, it reduces transaction cost and time. Thirdly, it encourages innovation in financial services, and it supports economic growth for entrepreneurship. So in conclusion, the commercial development of fintech is a process of turning financial technology innovations into widely used, profitable financial services that transform the global financial system. Thank you so much. Thank you also to Group One. I actually learned a lot, and thank you to the mentors. Yeah, thank you.
Yes, thank you so much, Mr. Victor, for presenting on behalf of your team. Yeah, reverting back to the mentors, we just want to quickly get your feedback for the two groups that presented. And then after we get feedback, we'll just take a few questions and then we'll call it a day. So back to you, Mr. Romeo. I'm sure you have heard everything that has been shared in class from the mentees side of things. We just want to know what you think about your presentation and then any other points you would like to share in regards to the presentation.
Oh, right. First of all, I want to admonish each presenter for doing a detailed research into understanding the particular sector. I think it's quite important for me as a person, as a process person. I like to understand how anything works, why it works the way it works, how we can keep it working the way it works, so that you'll be able to maximize benefit. That's also the best way where you can actually advise a client or an individual or an organization, because you understand, the impact of anything you are doing. So I think particularly I like the fact that you guys went as far as understanding the details, focusing on the processes behind what makes any of all these organizations or all these things tick. Most individuals, they just know they wake up in the morning, they have money in their account, how the money stays there, how the money leaves there, what they are doing, they don't understand. But one thing I also admonish each of you to do is to try to understand. That's why I said at the beginning, I said that the sector, or if you say fintech, is very wide, and even the other speakers also concord, stating the same thing. It's about understanding each spectrum, the way a product manager sees fintech is not the way a lawyer sees fintech. The way a lawyer sees fintech is not the way a consumer sees fintech. You just know that there is a number on your phone that suggests that you have so and so. Then how the company is able to keep that number there, and how it leads from that company to another. It's a quite exciting process. I always think knowledge is exciting, learning something new. So I think understanding each of all these things, would really, really help. All these fintech companies we talk about, there's a spectrum upon which they stand, licensing frameworks, licensing requirements, operational standard. As much as we talk about the legal, there are also what we call operational standards. What can be accepted. From time to time, you may see on the news where you say CBN has given a new order that there's a new certification requirement for any of these apps to use, so you understand why the app is the way it is. Why are they not using? You may come across a different app and you see that the different app is using, but it's not local, has different designs, has something, offers a certain kind of, options that your own local app is not offering. So you may think, oh, it's an exciting opportunity, but as your local regulator, that's the CBN, have they approved that this method or this means is okay? If you notice, most of the fintech apps till now, they don't still accept cryptocurrencies. If they even find out, they can even block and close your account. Why is that? There's a regulation in place. CBN has given guidelines, although the courts have not said that cryptocurrencies are banned. There's no. So I think aside understanding the legal perspective of how these things work, understanding the process too helps. It can be very, very insightful. My current place of employment, the main reason why I actually got the job was my understanding of cryptocurrencies, the processes behind it, regulation and all that. And such knowledge is global, it's not local. So it also, when I see transactions coming from other jurisdictions, I understand what the global approach to cryptocurrency is. You know what the standards for most jurisdictions. What's obtainable in the US is not what's obtainable in the UK. The UK standards of regulation is one of the highest in the world. So if you take your time to journey through all these things, I believe you guys will get to learn a lot. So beyond what you've presented today, look at it. How can you translate into it? How can you function within it? So that would just be my own comment on that.
Thank you so much, Mr. Romeo, for sharing this very, very insightful feedback. We really do hope that mentees on the call are taking note of everything that you have shared and said. So thank you so much once again, sir. Mr. George, if you're still with us, we just want to take a quick feedback from you on the presentation while we take questions just before we close. Hello, Mr. George, are you with us? Okay. It seems Mr. George is not back with us. Let's quickly take questions. Right, let's take questions. If anyone has a question that they would like to ask, let's quickly ask those questions so that we can wrap up class. We are almost spent on our time. It's a 2 hour session, so please let's try and ask just a few questions so that we can call it a day. Does anyone have a question they would like to ask in the session?
Yeah, I do have a question.
Yes, go ahead, Mr. Victor.
My question is towards what the contribution of Mr. Romeo. He spoke about specializing, right, and also understanding fully well the nitty-gritties of a particular sector in fintech. And he just spoke about cryptocurrency, which is something I pretty much I'm interested in. So I would just love to know, like, Mr. Romeo. So, what do you advise a beginner who is starting up to build in the space of cryptocurrency and blockchain legally, who intends getting into compliance globally? What do you expect? What's the expectation, and what do you advise in their building process? And what are the best tips and best steps to build up themselves? Yeah, thank you, sir.
Okay, so even in that cryptocurrency, when it comes to compliance in cryptocurrency, there are also subsets, you cannot master everything. And so from where I started from, first of all, was on the aspect of licensing. That was the first place I actually started. For us that have legal background, your first understanding comes from how does the law regulate this particular sector. So what does that mean? Going to understand the law. So one of the first things I did was to understand what's the global approach of, first of all, identify the sectors where cryptocurrencies were prevalent. Okay, the countries or continents where it was prevalent, and at that point in time, you had both the US and UK, who were both at the forefront of developing frameworks around it. And the US is so decentralized that the definition of crypto changes from state to state. Some treat it as a commodity, some treat it as an asset, some treat it as a means of exchange. So it differs, So, and there are a lot of states that I cannot know all of all those. So I picked the commercially viable areas. Okay, I started understanding that. At some point in time, I stumbled upon a course on it, Fintech Law and Policy. So I did it, I think, on Coursera, tried to get as much knowledge as I could on that. The course was very, very detailed, taught a lot about what fintech, how it operates, the nitty-gritties about it. Then, of course, I looked at the UK's accelerated regulatory sandbox that they had at that time, to see how they could adopt, utilize and develop a framework that would work for um, intending adopters within the sector. So I think those were the two areas I started with. Then, of course, the course now gave me a foundation. Aside that, I also had direct experience, a friend of mine who was starting a crypto project threw me to the front lines just with barely fancy knowledge, learning on the job until, you go to a place where everything becomes like a second skin to you. So for me, I would say, first of all, understand where these things work. You may not find it here in Nigeria. You may find it in other jurisdictions. And if you say you want to work on a global scale, you have to have global knowledge. That's the first thing. And another thing you must also try to understand, aside that, like I always say, apart from the data protection aspect that seems to be universal, because the interpretation of data protection is almost the same in any language. It's almost the same. Is what you have here is a carbon copy of what the EU has. What the EU has, and what's it called? The South Americans are also copying it. You copy global best standards. That's the standard of the industry, global best standard. You copy it, you adapt it to fit your local situations. Aside that, you also have the aspect of AML and counterterrorism financing. That's also an aspect you look at, because the movement of cryptocurrency, how it works, KYC for that and all that. You need to also understand some aspect of that. The truth is, you will not learn everything in a year. I didn't learn everything in a year. All these things you see talking about are things that have happened in a span of over 6+ years. Because I actually started paying lots of attention to cryptocurrency from 2020. And over that time, I've been active in knowledge gathering, knowledge sharing, studies, courses, and all that. But the best experience for me always is having to be on the front lines. So it's just that my own journey has actually just led me through places where I've been able to have frontline experience. But if you're unable to get frontline experience, you can also take courses. They give you insights to prepare you for those moments. Because when you get there, the industry is such that it has a negative perspective or perception. So you have to understand it so you don't make mistakes. Because a cryptocurrency transaction, although they say it's untraceable, but really it is traceable, really, because cryptography cannot be deleted. It cannot be erased. It is always there. So you will see where transactions go through. So I hope what I've said is insightful enough to help you, give you a direction on where to start and how you can go about it.
All right. Thank you very much, sir, for helping
Thank you,
us with
sir.
that question. Okay. Yeah. Thank you very much, sir, for helping us with that question. I think we can still take one more question, right? If we have any other person that has a question that they would like to ask, please kindly do so now. If you can't speak, you can send your question to the chat box, and then we'll read it to the mentor. Okay. In the absence of any questions, please, for those who can, let's quickly turn on our videos for our weekly screenshots of class. Right, let's quickly do that for the mentees and even the mentors, please, if you can, we would like to request that we turn on our videos so that we can take a quick screenshot of the class, and then we'll just call it a day. Thank you so much, Mr. Romeo. It's nice seeing you in this session. Thank you, sir. All right. So minutes will be doing that right about now. All right. Thank you, everyone. Okay. I can see more turning on the video. So let me wait a bit for them to do that. Okay. Yeah, we are done. We are done. Thank you, everyone. And with that, we've come to the end of the session. Yes, see you all next week. Once again, thank you to our mentors, Mr. Romeo and Mr. George, for running us through with today's class. We really, really do appreciate the insight in the session. We appreciate all the shared perspective and knowledge. We are very, very much grateful for the mentees. Please do not forget to share what you have learned, fill in your attendance, and share what you have learned on your different social media platforms. You can connect with our mentors, and you can also just, if you have questions, I believe they are open to they're open to like help answer those questions when you connect with them. All right, so with that, see you all next week and enjoy the rest of your weekend. Bye bye, everyone.
Thank you, sir. Bye, sir.